A new year and a new start for local government. The Detroit City Council, they went back to work this week, no longer under a Chapter 9 bankruptcy. Governor Snyder has plenty on his agenda, including what's next for Detroit Public Schools. And in Wayne County, it's the end of an era and a new beginning for County Executive Warren Evans. He's got a lot to tackle: a growing deficit, a failed jail project, and underfunded pensions. On his first day in office this week, Evans reduced his staff and lowered salaries. MiWeek contributor Stephen Henderson talked with Evans right after the election on American Black Journal, and he asked if there was a chance that Wayne County could end up in bankruptcy too.
We don't know how deep the hole is yet, and so everything's on the table.
Yeah.
If we're at a point where there's really no way to continue county operations and balance the budget, then we're going to have to look at some other options, definitely. I don't know at that point that it's the case. First part of the question. The second part of the question is, my contacts with the governor's office indicate to me that they don't have a predisposition to appoint an emergency manager, but they do want to see somebody clean up the mess.
Right.
And so once we know the numbers, I guess the numbers will help speak to whether or not there's the ability to do it on our own.
All right, clean up the mess and do it on their own. Can Wayne County fix its finances? And even the bigger question, if they can, how will they do it? We'll start our discussion there with our MiWeek contributors, Nolan Finley of the Detroit News and Stephen Henderson of the Detroit Free Press. Happy New Year.
Yeah, right.
Party hats and horns. How are you guys doing in the new year so far?
It's still happy.
It's still very happy. We still have a clean slate. And I love this feeling of this first day back. First day, I think, kind of week back at work for people, and this whole new fresh start and the feeling that anything is possible in the new year.
So you are chirpy this week.
I am chirpy this week. So let's talk about Wayne County and Warren Evans and the fact that he has quite a job, probably one of the hardest in the state right now.
Their finances may actually be worse than the city of Detroit's were when it went under state control and then into bankruptcy. Problem with the emergency manager law as written in Michigan is it doesn't do much. It doesn't do much good for counties because you can take over the county executive's office, but you've got three other independent units of county government. You've got the prosecutor, the sheriff, you have the courts, all spending money on their own outside the control of the executive. And the law really doesn't cover all of those entities. So, and the law also doesn't allow a community to go into bankruptcy without an emergency manager, without coming under the emergency manager law. So I don't know what the options are for Wayne County if it can't buckle down and fix these finances through either cuts or raising revenue.
All right, what are the options, Stephen, do you think at this point?
Well, I mean, I think the emergency manager option is only on the table for Wayne County if you're going to go into bankruptcy, because as no one points out, there's no other point to that. There's not really a way to restructure those other elected offices through an emergency manager. So I think that if we hear that there's going to be an emergency manager or there's serious talk about it, then that's a signal that they are headed toward a bankruptcy. And Nolan's right too about the finances in the county. The debt burden, the long-term liabilities are much more onerous in proportion in the county than they were even in the city. I think Evans is off to a pretty good start, trying to sort of send signals that things are going to be different. We're going to spend less money on things that we don't have to spend them on, and try to maybe redirect funds toward things you do. The prosecutor's office, I believe, has been underfunded for some time. I think you need more money for public safety and things like that. The priorities of county government, and less money going to some of the things that we have been doing. But I'm not sure how they restructure the debt and the liabilities outside of a bankruptcy.
Well, much of it is tied to their pensions, and they've underfunded those pensions and they've overpromised pension benefits. They just lost an appeal on the court case for the 13th check, so they're going to have to come up with $20–30 million to fill that hole in the pension fund. And there's going to be no grand bargain for Wayne County. There's not going to be any foundations or private money coming in to bail out those retirees. I think if they go into bankruptcy, those Wayne County retirees take a huge hit, because that fund is in poor shape.
All right, so we're talking about a deficit here. We're talking about the portion of the pensions that are unfunded. We haven't even talked about the jail project right now that Warren Evans has in front of him as well, and there's still no solution on what's going to happen with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a couple of obvious options on the table. One is to continue to build where you are, start over and go through the process and get a jail built there. But the other is this Mountain Road facility that I don't think.
Which it seems like people are backing away from.
Yeah, I don't think that makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. That's a big mess that's got to have to get sorted out. I predict that in the short term, we're just going to stick with what we have. I mean, there's not going to be a new jail in Wayne County.
Will the relationships that Warren Evans has with Kim Worthy and with Benny Napoleon help him, do you think, in this next year in terms of dealing with budgets and dealing with them? Because I think that's where some of the problems that Bob Ficano got in with was with dealing with those two.
I doubt it. I mean, I think they both have their own agendas and their own ideas. I don't know if you're ever going to satisfy Kim Worthy in terms of her budget. He may have better luck with the sheriff. I don't know. I mean, I think the courts have pretty much come into compliance, but you can't continue having a situation where the county executive and the county commission set a budget, and you have departments say, well, that's nice, but we're going to blow through it, if we feel like we need to.
Well, but you can't change that either. I mean, what's the mechanism to make that any different? That's the way the county is structured. That's the way government's structured.
Yeah,
Those are elected offices.
You would have to have a charter change in order to fix this, fix the financial problems.
One thing I want to make sure we talk about with regard to Wayne County is something that Bob Ficano talked about a lot, and obviously there were problems with some of the things that he did and didn't do. But he was constantly talking about the fact that the way we raise money in local governments, and particularly for counties, has not changed significantly in a long time, and where the money is in terms of revenue has changed. And you look at the things that the state has done, for instance, in order to balance its books in terms of shifting the tax burden around to the places where people are actually spending money, and they have not afforded those kinds of opportunities to counties. I think there are some sort of state reforms in terms of the way that local government is allowed to raise revenue that we're going to have to look at if we're going to continue this sort of autonomous.
Hang on one second, but is that something that the state will take into consideration when they're looking at, is Wayne County going to go into bankruptcy?
No, because Wayne County is a long way from spending the money it has efficiently. I mean, they've created and dug a lot of their own hole, and now you're going to say, well, we're not going to make you reform your practices. We're going to allow you to raise more taxes from a overtaxed population already.
But that's sort of a false either-or, isn't it?
People are already leaving Wayne County, and businesses are already bypassing it because of the tax burden. I think they have to fix the things they've done wrong.
And he's going to have a lot on his plate
but
to try to do that.
I mean, there's no reason you can't do both. Why can't you fix what they're doing wrong and also change the revenue portfolio in a way that provides steadier streams of money?
If you're
Last word on this, Nolan.
If you're confident that the fix will happen if the revenue comes. I mean, the past would indicate they'll just take the revenue and keep doing what they've done.